We decided not to do the roll call thing. Everybody's no absences, so everybody's here for the record. We've asked our city recorder / finance director to give us an opening prayer. And then following the prayer, if you follow me in the pledge of allegiance.
Our dear Father in heaven, we're so very grateful to be gathered here as members of our community tonight. We're thankful for the community in which we live and for the blessings and offerings of this community. We're very grateful for the citizens of Roosevelt City and for the opportunity to work with and for them. We're thankful for this opportunity to gather here tonight and pray that the best decisions can be made for the citizens of the city and that will benefit them. We're thankful for this special time of year, for what we celebrate. We're grateful for the friendships we have with each other, and we pray for that guiding spirit to help us as decisions are made. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to pull the mask down, but I can't talk as it is, and that makes it worse. So.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and look at the minutes from the last meeting. Are there any amendments or corrections that need to be made to those minutes?
I didn't see any. I moved to approve.
Second. Motion by Councilman Buchenbark and second by Councilman White. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. We do have our public comment period at the beginning of each meeting, up to 15 minutes. And any individual could take up to 3 minutes to address the council. Are there any in the audience that would like to take that opportunity tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on. First item we have tonight is a public hearing. It's for ordinance 2019-438. Dean has been working with planning and zoning on this. Dean, would you like to come to the front and explain kind of what we're doing with this here?
Absolutely. We should have the minutes for the zoning. Let's go with the map here first. Let me explain properly. It's right here. If you expand this a little bit. There we go. It's actually these three parcels right here. We have an M2 right here. This is an M1. So Raymond Perez has requested that we rezone these three pieces of property, which is the old Western Petroleum Bulk Plant, to an M2.
Okay, so that's right behind the RBS thing. So it doesn't.
RBS is right here.
Yep.
Here's the bulk plant, but these three properties are part of this Western Petroleum property. So he's requesting that we rezone these three pieces of property to an M2. They've gotten a conditional use for a lab in the area. They're developing a process to work waxy crude into a more shippable product. We met with them, Don, I am the fire chief on the lab. It's very low emissions, very safe. And so anyway, just to give them a little bit more flexibility, and M1 will probably do everything they need, but he's requesting it. And sports staff were in favor. I believe Don could speak to it also.
Yeah, I'm supportive of today's public presentation that he gave. I was at the meeting with Mike Christensen from Utah State University, who helped to kind of explain the chemistry part of it and the fact that the waste and things, which is very minimal, and it's not toxic or anything, and what they have will fit in a barrel that be disposed of as needed. So
55 gallons.
Yeah.
And if you wanted, we can bring up the minutes. I believe that we have the minutes on that particular, if you want to go on it.
Just want to make sure, was there any anyone that was?
No, we had a public hearing. There was nobody present and no comments for or against.
Now, where it says zone change, would that be changing to an M2 then?
Yes, sir. Change it from an M1 to an M2.
Which is adjacent to the other M2 in the area, so not a problem there. Any questions from the council? Seeing none, would consider ourselves in a public hearing and would take any comments or questions from the public at this time. Seeing none, we'll consider ourselves back into regular session. And unless there's any other discussion, would entertain a motion.
I move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, Councilman Roosevelt, second by Councilman Allen. This will need to be a roll call. Councilman Riley?
Yes.
Councilman White?
Yes.
Councilman Busenbark?
Yes.
Councilman Baird?
Yes.
And Councilman Allen?
Yes.
And that is unanimous. And so motion passes, and ordinance approved. So
Thank you. We'll get that taken care of.
thank you. We're going to go a little out of order tonight. We have a guest here from Utah State University. Bob Peterson's with us tonight, and we'll put you right at the beginning of the meeting, Bob. When Councilman Busenbark mentioned that you have some distance to travel, and we'll get you going. So if you'd like to, we'll turn the time to you.
Actually, I'd like if Scott could present just briefly on what we discussed on this intern, and then Bob will just address any questions. I think the probably the easiest. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So I've been working with Dawn the last little bit on how do we develop our local talent that's coming out of Utah State. I think one of those ways we can do that as a city is internships through the city. We have great department heads and those types of individuals that can help coach and mentor our younger students at the schools. And so I'm trying to put together a program to where we can use some of these talents and resources that are locally grown within our community. So I've been working with Dawn, and what I'm planning on to do is next budget year to plan for an intern, one every 6 months within the city. And we'll work closely in hand with Utah State to facilitate whether that's public works or whether that's administration, whatever type of talent we can get out of Utah State. It really facilitates, helps building the local talent that's within our current city and or surrounding areas. And so Dawn's been great to work with this Utah State on trying to put this program together, and moving forward, it would be a great partnership with Utah State to start fostering the local talent we have within the city. And I would like to see us start utilizing a lot more of the resources we have that are homegrown. And then I can turn the time over to Utah State.
I'm Bob Peterson, the Associate Director for the campus. James Taylor and I work closely together. He's our Director in Vernal. And we're just excited for this relationship. And I think what a great thing for the students. I don't know how many of you in this room had interns. I have. And they really helped propel my career and my first job, knowing that I've done something towards what I wanted to do as a career. And so this is a great way. So we applaud Roosevelt City, Don's help, and mayors, everybody for thinking of us. And I think it extends probably to UB Tech as well for some of their students. I think a lot of our business programs, Cameron Ketch, who works for the Huntsman School of Business, I think a lot of interest might come from his students who are pursuing business majors, and it could come from other areas as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I did 6 months as an intern also in city government. So it's a way to foster and grow those kids that truly have a love for government or certain fields and want to know what we should be able to use that talent. And you know, it's really a mutual relationship between the organizations to foster those talents that are locally grown.
Our students also could enroll in internship credit and be working with somebody on our campus, Logan or here, and help them come up with some objectives along with what you help them do. So they get graded from professors as well as part of an internship class for 2 to 3 credits. So I think it's a win-win for everybody. We appreciate it. I think it'll be a great help for Roosevelt. I just love the linkage. We love the linkage with Roosevelt City. So could I entertain any questions that you would have?
Does anyone have any questions?
That's easy.
I just have a comment. You know, I was talking with Bob a little earlier today and also in discussions with our city manager, not too long ago, talking about, you know, needing help, not full-time positions, but needing help, you know, maybe with Randy in the front and those types of things, answering phones, looking at receivables and the internship, we talked about that as, but we, at the time, it didn't progress into something like this, but I think it's a fantastic idea. And I'm just grateful that that connection has been made, and I think that's perfect for what our needs are, and hopefully what the needs are of those students coming out of that, getting that experience. And so I think it's great.
It could so work that you end up hiring some of them full-time down the road. I mean, they have that experience where you get to know them and they may be proven assets for Roosevelt City.
Absolutely. What better way to go through a interview process than to have them on for 3 or 4 months and see how they perform and then hire them on full-time.
I just want to applaud Scott again for his efforts with this. We've been in discussion, but I appreciate his willingness to have something like this going. And like I said, I'm all about supporting our community, and I think this is a way to support our community. And as Scott said, we'll do it for a 6-month time period, but if it works out and we have resources, maybe we add another one at the golf or the public works or other areas where we can have someone working for us part-time, gaining that experience, and through USU or even the tech, gaining credit and getting that added to their credentials, plus them being able to then say, hey, I've got this experience, which we all know that's a hard thing sometimes to get for students to be able to say, I've got experience. Now we can help provide that in a way that helps benefit the city, helps benefit the student, and I think it develops a better relationship with our community education leaders, both, and I'm not specifically Utah State. I think UB Tech, we would want to support them for programs that would support us. We want to make sure there's a fit there. So, and I just appreciate Bob coming and addressing that. I think it's, win-win-win. You get credit, you get experience, you get paid, and the city gets some work too. And I mean, just everybody benefits from it. So.
Not only that, it even takes it further than that, because I've had conversations with Dawn, and what we'd like to do is integrate the city staff with Utah State staff in hiring the candidates. So not only we can put 10, 15 people through a administrative hiring process. So when they go out there and not only when they're looking for jobs, even if they're not an intern here, those people that go through that process for the job will understand how, at least on the government side, the application process works in the interview process. So it's also building the interview skills coming into it. So I hope in the future that this becomes a very competitive process to where people at Utah State or UB Tech, when they put in, I want to see 15, 20, 30 people put in for these jobs, because then they're not only that, they're getting those interview skills. So when they go out there into the public sector, they've already done it. They've been through the interview process, and they understand the process going into it. Those are truly vital in the workplace. I mean, interviewing skills are something that go above and beyond. I mean, that's what gets you your job. If you can't interview well, you can't get that job. So I see this above and beyond just the internship. It's also part of the process that will also help other applicants that are looking for jobs.
Very well said. Thanks for bringing that part up. And other than our math department at USU, I mean, things are going really well.
I've heard that guy's always late.
Yeah, he's always late. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Bob, for being with us. I appreciate you. Have a drive safe home.
Thank you.
Or a safe drive home. Drive safely. Okay.
Just to follow up on that, will we need to set up some motion for future to
I don't think we need
That's
any
a
motion
policy
at this
issue.
time.
Yeah.
This is something that you guys will approve down the road in the future budget that will
Okay.
come through.
That's fine, just so, thank you.
All right. Let's go to Workman Frisbee minor subdivision. Are you representing on that?
Well, Troy is here representing the Workmans. I want to give you the background Okay, so if we can bring up the planning and zoning minutes. Okay, right here. Now, if you notice here, basically, if this was several months ago, this would have been called a lot split. Now conforming with state code, we call it a minor subdivision. On it to conform with that. In this is a two property split where there will be no infrastructure required by the owner to put in as roads or water sewer. If so, if there was engineering, there would be required and sidewalk. But this is a lot split. But where this is called a subdivision, one of the members, Chris, was, if you notice here, stated that Title 1606-100 of the city ordinances require that sidewalk be installed anytime there's a subdivision. So when this house was put in, which was roughly about 12 years ago, evidently, I don't know why a sidewalk was not installed. But in his opinion, before they could split this lot, or to be able to, they should be required by Roosevelt to put a sidewalk in front of their property. Now,
Is there sidewalk on each side of their property?
well, I don't think we have GIS up, but we can bring up the zoning map. There is sidewalk to the east side of their property, west side, and all around the rest of the block. Oh, there we go. GIS. We're great.
Because if it's the only section in the whole sidewalk that's
It
missing.
doesn't have any to the west, I know that.
No, it doesn't have from there. Okay, let's see.
Sorry, Dean, you'll have to guide me.
It's gonna be to
Yeah,
the
you'll have to
west.
come back so I can find it. We're in this R6 zone here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know where Christie's live. I can see.
Okay, here's the curve.
Yeah. Right.
Here it is. I think
That one
it
right
is-
there. Oh,
Is
right
it this
there.
one or this one?
No, the other
Yeah,
one,
this
that
one.
one.
Right there.
Oh, right here. Here's the little piece of property. I can't stand that out just a little bit. Okay. Here's the piece of property right here that they're splitting. Right here. Sidewalk is to right here. There's none across here, or any way down this block it out. And so that was discussion. Now, they're gonna cut this property right here and sell this lot. At what time they do, whoever purchases this and builds on this lot will be required to put in sidewalk. So the question in place is twofold. One, do you approve the minor subdivision with a requirement that they install this sidewalk or that they don't have to do the sidewalk? Now, if you do require a sidewalk there, sorry, I can't read this now.
Yeah.
You may have to require that they post a bond or something to ensure that that gets done. That's something as council you need to look at is, if you put in requirements on the lot split, how do you enforce?
Can you zoom in a little closer?
If we had it on GIS, it'd be clearer. Rather than the zoning map,
Where does the sidewalk end?
right here. At the property line.
They used to own that piece as well. Can you, yes, be sure.
Well, Sherry Workman owns this here, but Wayne and Jackie owns this parcel, right?
And Sherry has recently passed away,
Oh, has she really?
is the one that,
How
yeah,
long
so
ago was that?
4 months ago, 2 months ago, something like that, it's been recent. After we started the process.
So anyway, my feelings was this is a lot split. I don't see how we can require this because infrastructure is not required for the lot split. If this was like 3 lots and they had to put in road, water, sewer, yes, absolutely. But as council, you have a final say, and that's why zoning passed it to you to make a decision. Do we require this for the lot split or not? And then I'll let Troy take it from here because he's representing the ordinance.
What does the council think on that? Reading the minutes, it looked like Chris was for the sidewalk. It looked like,
Cody was not necessary for it, but he says, yes, a subdivision does say a sidewalk. And so he voted to pass it on to you. My opinion is if it required the infrastructure of a subdivision and engineering, absolutely it would have to have where it's just a lot split. And I think over time zoning, we need to go into our ordinances and change it and make it two parcel minor subdivisions 3 or more, something like this, so we can define what we're talking about there. Something we're gonna have to do. This has just come up new.
Yeah. So your suggestion would be not to require?
I would, I think it's easier to handle. It would not have been required in the past. And if we do, then you're gonna have to set some form, like a bond or something, for them to post with the signage of this to make sure the sidewalk gets put in.
I think he's saying not on the existing home, but when the new home goes in on the new lot, that will get sidewalk.
Correct, the new lot would have to have it, but don't
So to the
require,
northwest, that they're gonna
don't
build
require it on the existing home at this time. Hopefully in time that they decide to put some in, but the requirement, I don't know how we justify it myself.
So what I'm reading is everybody on those minutes said approve it with the sidewalk being developed on the west side when the house is built, but require the south sidewalk to be completed. And everybody said yes on the building and zoning. If you read
Can you
that
bring the
note,
notes up again, please?
They passed it up to you to decide if the south side, y'all to decide is that required, but absolutely on the west side, as a building lot, it is required.
but what I'm saying is it looks like everybody on the board, Chris, Lynn, Cody, Ren, all said aye for require the south side, but the sidewalk not be required on the west side until development takes place. And I would agree with that.
That's what they decided. They bumped it up to you to make the decision as council, because council is the only people that can waive sidewalk.
This is a really tricky one, and for me, and I don't get to vote, and then I'll tell you why, is because I hate not following our ordinances, because then it causes different treatment down the road for different people when we start to make decisions outside of our ordinances. And the next person that comes in may get that waived and may not get that waived. And this, but it's really difficult because the house was already built without that being required. So at some point, the council would have had to approve the building of that house without requiring the sidewalk, which is not what should have happened. And now it's pushed that problem down the road to us, which is a little frustrating and puts us in a little interesting position.
I wanted to go, just based on Dean's comment, if it was maybe required, but no one checked or made it accountable too, because when you say something about, it's hard to make some of that, like checking on it, to make sure it's been done right or whatever.
Well, if so, what stipulations are you gonna put in? Are you gonna wait to sign this and pass until a sidewalk is put in? Or are you gonna require a bond to be posted before signing this, before this can be recorded and sold? I mean, how do you guarantee that the sidewalk is put in?
Right, and that's one of the things that happened before too. I'm not saying that, I don't know, but it is hard, I agree.
My question is, so this is different than a subdivision, is what?
If this had been several months ago, this would have been called a lot split. And if you
Well, why
notice-
is that? If you're making two different lots, that would be considered like a minor subdivision, wouldn't it?
Well, it's a minor subdivision under state code. Anything that is subdivided is now called a minor subdivision. Before just a single lot split, one lot into two was called a lot split. But we found state code calls it now a minor subdivision, so we now refer to it as a minor subdivision. Now, let's go further. This has not been changed in our ordinance as far as what we call it, but still, it's a minor subdivision in an effort to conform with that until we can change the ordinances. That's what we're doing. It's kind of intricate and just kind of a can of worms.
So I guess my question is, do we push the problem to the next council? Well, that's really what we're talking about here, right?
Well, the bottom line is either they require to put sidewalk in on the south side or not. It's just.
I think considering there's a house already built there, they're taking action with the city to create a subdivision. I think we need to require that the sidewalk be put in there, just because there's not a likelihood that they're gonna build anything new there, that we would have the opportunity to require that. And I think on the other side, we should do what they suggested and just allow, when somebody does come in and get a building permit to put a house in there, that we require that. Because, I mean, one thing that I know, otherwise it puts burden on taxpayers if by chance, that the only way we can get a sidewalk in there is for the city to pay for it.
Correct. And then you need to come up with how you're gonna enforce it.
I think a bond would be fine, but how do we do that usually with the subdivision?
Usually a bond.
That's how we usually do it, and that's the easiest way. Posting a bond until it's completed, that way they can continue with getting things recorded and
then if
and
they're
sell the
complete,
property possibly.
We'll use that money.
the other thing we need to consider too is if they're gonna put the sidewalk in, there's no way to,
Right now is not a good time.
well,
It
yeah,
needs some warm- it needs some
absolutely,
warm
but I'm just talking about further west in front of the other home. Because obviously,
That home, that it was Sherry's, is being purchased by, I don't know who lives in the workman's home right now, but the new lot's being created is being purchased by one of Sherry's sons, I believe, last name, but he's the one that lives in Pennsylvania. A sister to him or a daughter of Sherry is getting the corner lot in probate, estate, whatever you want to call it, since she passed.
well, and that's the question, there's really no way to require that homeowner to put sidewalk in, because there's nothing that's gonna trigger this.
That's correct. The only piece lot we can talk about is that's being subdivided.
So I'm in agreement with the council, with that, I'm one that I like to see things finished too, and so if they're gonna, once they do that, would the city then tackle the other piece? And I don't know how that works, that's a mess, but
I'm gonna say the city would until we improve the streets, with one of our regular street improvements.
Yeah.
Down the road.
okay.
But so I guess last time I came and talked to you, there was a shed in the way. That shed has been moved. And the other issue that we were talking about is that street between the curb and gutter to the property line is 15 feet, 20 feet too wide. So,
Okay.
I guess I would keep that on your guys' to do.
Right, well, we have that on our, and we've already got a process that we're pursuing. We've already met with the attorney on that. And
And
we've
the
got that
15
figured
feet
out.
will be coming up to planning and zoning in January. So we'll come with a plan and then we'll pass it on up to city council.
Do you have a digital copy of the plat that we can pull out just to see where the lot line will be split?
We'd almost have to go back to zoning. I don't know if we have.
That's probably an old one.
I've got it.
We might.
I can draw you.
That's okay.
I think we've got some pretty savvy people.
Okay. So this is the one where the shed was still there. It's been updated. So that fence enclosure, and there was a shed in that fence enclosure that has been taken apart, pushed over. So that's the new lot.
Sorry. Right, all the issues that we had before, other than this sidewalk, have been taken care of.
And they did, I approached them about the possibility of them getting that, and they said they didn't want to wait.
As far as meeting all the setbacks requirements and everything else.
Everything is good that way. So as far as the division of property, everything is fine. It's just the issue of the sidewalk out from the existing property.
Great, so
So we just need a motion to say we support the planning and zoning recommendation of crosswalk on the south side and not the west side at this time, and that we'd like a bond for that.
that sounds correct.
That's my motion. Because I don't want to repeat it.
So you got that, Lee?
The gist of it, I'm supportive of the planning and zoning suggestion that we approve the minor subdivision with the sidewalk on the south side, and that we can wait on the west side until development takes place, and that we'd like a bond for do we need to request a bond for the sidewalk in that motion?
I'm going to ask you two questions. How long are you going to allow them to do a bond? And at what cost, and who do they contact? Because I'm going to step away from this process and let them handle it.
Dean, you know this as well as anybody, I guess. What's a time frame that would be reasonable?
A time frame to get it done,
Probably,
6 months to a year.
that's what I was thinking.
And that, most of them, they need to actually wait till spring till we get some warm weather.
Right.
And then I think on the bond, I think actually Recorder, if I remember on the other, kind of sets up a fee, and I think we have a fee, actually, we were talking about in our fee schedule for sidewalks. So something like that could be calculated, I believe.
So would you amend your motion for 6 months? Well, I would just say a year.
I'd give them a year.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm good with that. I'll accept that as a friendly amendment.
Okay, now how do we keep track of the building of the house on the west side and making sure that that is?
The house on the west side is a whole new piece of property. To build anything over there, they would have to come in and get a building permit, and it would just be like the regular building permit process, because when people are building homes, they're all required to put in a sidewalk.
Okay, perfect. That sounds good.
I'll second the motion.
Up to you.
That was an appropriate
Oh,
motion.
there was one other thing that I was thinking, that we will sign the plan upon the receipt of the bond.
So I'm not
We're
with
gonna sign
that.
it tonight, but as soon as I have the bond, if the bond's been
We'll sign the bond as soon as we have the bond
in place.
received.
Do you want to keep the plat, or do you want me to keep it and bring it back to you?
I'd rather you lose it personally. But I don't know, do we have somewhere we can hang on to it? Or is it
You
better?
can take care of it, or I will take care of it. Once they come in, I will get with Chris and Scott, and we'll come up with a fee. Is that fine, Scott? And that way they can post the bonds, and then
You'll take care of the flat.
I'll keep track of it so we don't lose it.
We have a motion and a second by Councilman Baird, right? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thanks, Troy.
Almost said that.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll walk out.
All right, CIPCO Engineering, welcome. South, 800 South project presentation.
Yes, the 800 South project here, it's a presentation to get approval for the mayor to sign a grant application to UDOT on the project. We've been working with staff and prepared an application for the Joint Highway Committee, which is for the widening and tying sidewalk, storm drain together on 800 South from State Street out to US 40 by the cemetery to complete that area. 2 years ago, as you know, we completed the area from 800 South to 5th East, or from State Street to 5th East on 800 South. Use this same funding to do 800 South or State Street from 800 South to get rid of that flood problem down there. And it is also the same funding that will be used to do the project that is currently going on State Street that goes from 800 South up to 3rd South here at the city office.
And that project's next year.
That project is next year. Actually, on that project, well, let's skip to that project for a minute, then we'll come back to this one. We actually have the kickoff meeting for the design on that project scheduled for tomorrow with UDOT. So that project on State Street will be being designed over the winter, with it being advertised next October. That's the federal fiscal year, and so October 1st of next year, we'll be able to advertise the project and go to construction. And what we anticipate with that is that it would start construction during the winter on the storm drain portion during November, December of next year, and then the street work would take place on the spring of 2022 with that project. This project would fall a year later than that. And so what we're doing is we prepared the application asking for $1.5 million in federal funds with $110,000 of city match. So it's a 93% federal, 7% local match project. And so that's what we're here to do, is present this and ask that the council approve the mayor to be able to sign the application and transmit a letter so that we can get the project submitted.
Any questions?
Oh, the curb gutter sidewalk.
Yes, curb gutter, sidewalk, storm drain, widening the road, so it'll be the same width as what is from State Street to Fifth East. So it'll match that configuration.
And would, like, power lines are currently running above ground, Mark, is that right?
Yes.
And they'll stay above ground, or will they go underground?
Well, they'll stay above ground as far as this project funding is concerned. You know, we don't believe that, I better rephrase that, we don't know yet. But we don't believe that we'll have much more than a couple of power poles impact that we normally do when we widen the street. And with that, you'd work with the utility company, and the relocation would be part of the project. And if they decided at that point to take it underground, then it would be a betterment that would be worked out between the power company and the project for some portion of cost share.
I only have two comments and kind of question, but first of all, this is the stretch of road that we were talking about with the cemetery master plan. Yes, having that curve. So that's something that we need to get on fairly quickly and seeing if we can get an easement to take that alignment of 8 South with Summerall Lane. Yeah. And then the only other question I'd have is while we're there in the area, paving that street, I know this project may not be able to pay for what we would do in the cemetery as far as an inside lane to the north of 8 South. I know in the master plan that's part of that, putting a street that's isolated from 8 South inside the cemetery. Maybe we could look at that as well and at least do some economics and scale and see if they're there, they're paving. It may not be able to be paid for on that project, but we may save some money with them already there and include that in that project.
As far as with the application, we're aware of the potential realignment of that to the south and that with this. And so that would be anticipated that with what's here, but that could possibly be taken care of in this. Once we don't know exactly how it's going to work, but once it is, this has that ability. As far as the second lane on the north, that probably is not anything. Just to be upfront with you in that manner. So
yeah, but it might be something we want to look at.
yes, well, you have a contractor right there. Would make sense.
Great. Any other comments, questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the mayor continues to seek funding for this project. Is that what we're looking for?
Yep.
Second?
Second by Councilman White. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
All right.
Thanks, Charlie.
And Scott, will you get those signatures and just email them to me?
Absolutely. I'll take care of that for you.
All right. Any other questions on the other project? We just scanned it real quickly, or?
Oh, get excited for that. We have a lot of residents that are excited to get that last stretch done.
Yeah, it'll be nice to get that.
Appreciate the 93%. Next time, can you go for 95?
Well, you know, don't get too greedy.
I understand.
That's fantastic.
No, that is fantastic.
So, Horace, with the GIS, who's here to present?
It's Zach.
Zach, okay.
It is done.
What Zach is gonna be presenting is just gonna be on this screen alone.
Yeah, sorry. I think this is the most engineers we've had in the room at any one time. 1, 2, 3, 4, we had one just leave. This is no way, man. 4, 5.
Just to note, I am not an engineer.
It's all yours.
Oh, 6. Goodness. All right. 7. They're popping up.
Really, yeah, I wasn't an engineer, but I'll tell them you.
Okay.
All right, so this is an explanation of GIS services that we're offering to the city. There's 3 tasks specifically that we're proposing. In the GIS world, there's a common saying called you're drowning in data, but you're starving for information. Meaning you have a lot of data, you have a lot of points and lines on a map, but what does that mean to you? The purpose of this proposal is to turn your data into information, which is useful information that you can use to better your city and to help you in all that you do. So the first proposal that we have is to upgrade this map. This is the city utility planning and transportation map that Horrocks has created for the city. As you can see in here, we have quite a few different data layers here on the left side in the content. Most of these are utility layers. As we zoom into the map and go to wherever it may be, you can see the features, hydrants, valves, water lines, power lines, and so forth. What we aim to do is to make this more useful for you. So the primary thing that is to make this more useful is to first have it better organized so you understand better what's in the map and what you're looking at. And to do that, we would create an Esri-based web application to access this map on any device, mobile device, desktop, anything like that. And you have the ability to edit in the field, to go into your data, to look at what it is, and if need be, make changes to what that data is. So if you're out in the field and you're looking at a valve and something changes, you can on the fly in the field make that update so that your data stays live as you change, right? As things change in the field, you can keep the data live. So it's much more useful, right? When you go to look at any piece of it. And as a part of that, so a major issue that arises from field collection is being connected to the internet, right? For this application, you need to be connected to the internet to be able to edit and change things inside the map. But along with this, there is an Esri software called Collector and Survey 123 that we will attach to this, where it's a separate application that you can download to a mobile device and has the ability to take a portion of your data and to check it out and download it to your device and take it out to the field where you don't have internet service. So there's no service or any connection. You can still make your edits out in the field, and it'll still use your GPS unit on your device to track where you are, right? So it'll still know exactly where you are out in the field to be able to record your data accurately. Any questions? That's kind of the first.
I have just two part questions. I mean, the first question is, so if you upload it online into a web app, Esri online, would everybody, public, and everybody have access to that, or like the layers that are not, classified type of things? I don't know if there's anything here that would be classified, but is that something to be available to the whole public? And like, if I wanted to just get on there at my house for some reason, would I be able to do that?
And that'd be up to you guys. Whatever you want people to see, we can make it available to them, and we can restrict whatever else you don't want people to see.
And then the only concern I have with that so far, and I think that the city executive staff can figure this out, but ensuring that whatever staff was entering that was well trained on how to do that. So, but I like that idea. Incorporate Survey 123 Collector. I use those for my job too.
Yeah, they're super helpful.
And
yes, Ryan.
to bounce off Dave's comment too, we've actually used it in the field to help customers with leaky lines and location of meters and stuff. But it's just not up to par as far as the accuracy right now, and that's kind of why we have them here. But to kind of bounce off what your suggestion is, we kind of are doing that. I mean, it helps us help the customer, right? So I would say yes, but they don't have the ability to get into it, but we have it for us to help them.
Okay.
So is this all encompassing? I know we, as an economic development committee, we've talked to Dominion, we've talked to Moon Lake, we've talked to Strata about getting their infrastructure also and overlaying it with ours. Is that all they put here? Or is there still some that we need to give?
Can we add their layers to our layers?
Absolutely. If they're already using GIS and their system, then we could just get a link and lay it on.
So I had Strata sent me a link to their GIS information. I know the Moon Lake is in the process of doing that. and Adam Kessler at Dominion is also in the process of doing that, at least for Roosevelt City. And so,
One other thing on that, like,
you
so
know,
roads, I know that the city's spent a lot of time looking at where the lighting is good and bad in our city and where roads are, our 5-year plan and all that. That was collected in Google Earth, wasn't it? Or was that done on,
It's a layer in GIS.
it is? Awesome.
that's what I was gonna ask, the street condition data, that's been one of my biggest concerns as an elected official, making sure that roads that are needing repaired are getting repaired and staying on top of that. I think history has said that whoever squeaky wheel gets the grease. But we've got to be way more organized. And I know we have been, and Kurt's not here, but just wanting to make sure, is that information that we have or can add to here to make sure that, again, our 5-year, 2-year, 1-year plans reflect exactly what's going on with
We have that. LTAP did 2 surveys and we updated the most recent.
Okay,
Zach and his team know where it's at, but yeah, we have that.
Perfect. It's in the master plan too.
as long as we're, I know when we're going to CIB and we're filling out those 5-year, 2-year, 1-year plans, as long as we're utilizing what's already been done and
Yeah, it'd be awesome to have it all in one place.
using that sewer lines, water lines, the age, I know we're talking about the library, the west side of the library being, what is that type of pipe again? Transite pipe and those types of things, and identifying those, because ultimately we're gonna have to replace, lines, and there's a lot of work to do, and this could be, this for us, especially elected officials coming in new, this gets them up to speed super quick.
So, Ryan, what does this do? So, the 2 important questions. What does it cost for all of this to happen?
I'll have him answer that. We have it on the PO list for this. He's got 3 sections that he's offering us, and he's still on the first one, correct?
Yeah.
Right. So with all 3, it's 10,000, correct? And it's just, sorry.
Yeah, it's broken out on the 3 tab.
And that's just to develop the software, not to update any data points. Right?
No, that's to get it up to speed so that as you guys go out, you can update on the fly.
And you guys could, if you find out you're doing an 811 and you find the pipe is 8 feet to the right, can a user adjust the location of the?
Yep.
Yeah.
In the field on the spot.
And so after spending that money, that'll basically cover the city's footprint.
Which would be good as we talk with these other entities that also have infrastructure when they go on what's called. If we could get it to where they were using the same type of thing that they could update those points as well, I mean, that would be fantastic.
And I believe we're just scratching the surface, correct me if I'm wrong, on the potential and the capabilities of this program. I mean, he showed me a lot of stuff and I was like a kid in a candy store, but this gets us started because we need that footprint and we need to have this. So when we go out and we're working with the other utility companies, that we're not hitting lines we shouldn't. And we're locating what we need to find.
I think it's fantastic. The 10,000 that we spend on this, that would help us, it would drive our projects and everything in the future, give us the information, the data that we need moving forward is
And with this
good
too,
value.
with budget wise and stuff like that, so Water Source and Public Works have agreed to split the cost between the 2 departments. So they've been working together in this project and they both see this beneficial. So it will be coming out of Water Source and Public Works within their budget to make this happen.
And then is there a continuing subscription cost associated with this that we aren't paying currently?
No, so this would get it set up and you guys would be responsible for maintaining it unless we came to another.
There's more modules included into this. I mean, when we sat through this, they also do stuff with the Google Earth where they drive around with trucks and stuff like that. So it's just like this star map. So you can pull that up and put it down on the ground and you can see exactly where your pipes and all of that. that's an extensive jump from where we're going, or from where we're trying to get to. I mean, it's a pretty big leap. So there's other modules we can go to, but this gets Ryan and Public Works to where they need to be more effective and efficient in the field.
I got one more question. So could we incorporate the master plan into this? Is that already done, or is that something that,
That's something that would be an add-on, but would be relatively cheap because we have all of that data already. It would just be a matter of getting into the proper format.
I think it would be really useful, especially, I mean, for the executive staff, of course, but for us, like, we get residents all the time that come to us and talk to us about different things and what, you know, and it's good for us to at least be able to see, especially if they're keeping it live and continually updating and stuff like that, then we could at least see, you know, what the plans are for the future and, you know, when we're planning to redo the roads and things like that, so.
To jump to the second task real quick, it's a government service map, public service map, really. This is an example of what we've done for Spanish Fork City. If you go into the map, and this would be for the public, mainly. You go into any location and they could type in their address wherever they want to. You put a point in, and then it will load all the different city layers that you have: garbage collection, what school they go to, recycling pickup, trash pickup, elementary school. It just is an informative map to let your citizens know all the government services that are provided and what to expect from it. And we can add whatever you guys want in there, right? Whatever's important for you guys to add to inform your citizens.
Nice feature.
So a fairly simple map, but pretty useful for the public. And then the third task is, is a construction work map. We created one again for Spanish Fork City, but it is a map of every active construction project in the city. And you can go in here and select the project. And it'll have all the pertinent information that you need. And it will also have in it links to any important documents affiliated with that project, or whatever that may be. Right? So you can go in and double check any file associated with that project. You can make this available to the public. We can set up two maps, one that's available to the public, just the general information, and one that's set up for city staff with more detailed information, more private information. Any questions there?
Who updates those projects? Sorry.
So
Would that be Kurt, for example, when Kurt's doing a project, he would put that in there, that information in there, so that the public could, I imagine would be, he would give you the information, you would upload it.
we get the basic footprint, and then from that point on, as new projects come across, then
Our staff, yeah. Okay.
and then we do provide pavement management services. We've come out with a new predictive model for pavement management. We have beta tested with Mapleton City, where we drive a mobile LiDAR truck down the road, and it collects LiDAR points, does a 3D scan of the road and surrounding area, and you can pick up every defect within the road. And our team can extract a road rating, and then we've created a predictive model to estimate when those roads need improvements and the different types of improvements that would be needed.
Is that included with this 10,000?
Why is that funny? So you can see right here, here's a scan of this road. You can see we've streamed in the city's GIS layers, so you can see where the utility lines are in association with that. And you can get in here and you can do measurements. It is survey grade LiDAR, so it's accurate within a centimeter. So you can get in here and you can measure fire hydrants or whatever it may be, easements, and so forth. And as part of the mobile LiDAR, we do a 360-degree pictures, just like on Google Earth, right? Street view. But you get up to date, and you can see our GIS lines are streamed in to the photo, so you can see them.
That's impressive. What's that, another 3,000?
Maybe
We might get out after the meeting.
And if you have a roadway design, we can stream in the design to get an idea of how it would look once completed.
Interesting. That'd be cool.
And we could take that, all that, the guys can take all that information into the field, right? So if they're out working, they can pull it up on the.
It's mobile friendly. We've got an augmented reality application created so you can use your phone camera and it'll lay the GIS layers inside your camera out in the field accurately.
So in all seriousness, how much does something like that cost? Oh, is that the million?
This is the plans that we have started to model for Mapleton to compare scenarios. So a 20-year plan with 1 million a year compared to a 20-year plan with 10 million a year. And looking at the roads, and you have your treatments, your backlog of treatments that you've missed. You have your pager rating, which would be the rating system for the pavement. And one of the interesting things here is between your 1 million a year and your 10 million a year, if you look at the costs, you end up spending 4 million more over 20 years with the 1 million a year.
Our budget's not even 10 million a year.
But you can see this as a tool to help you put the money where it's best used, right? So it can help you determine which roads need the appropriate treatments to maintain longer, because everybody knows it's a lot cheaper to do a treatment than to do a new road. Anyways, that's just quick talking. Okay, any questions? Yes, Kimberly.
If I may, I have two questions. On the LiDAR scanning, that's pretty cool. Is it accurate enough to be able to pick up and then measure cracks?
Yes.
She's thinking airports, I can tell.
I'm always thinking airports. The second is, we also do LGS stuff, and the question always comes up is the hosting. Somebody did ask that. I wanted to confirm hosting of the website and fees after this is created by by Horrocks and passed over to the city to update. Who's going to be hosting that website? Would the city then, would it be hosted on their server, or you see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, no, that's actually one of the problems that we've encountered.
yeah, that's why I'm curious.
It would depend on the city and the contract, right? So for Mapleton City, it's a small city with relatively few roads, and so we host the data. They host their own GIS data, so the utilities and such that are streamed in are hosted on their server, but the LiDAR's hosted on ours. But there are plans to transfer it to them. So moving forward, we'll most likely be the client hosts all the data. We just set it up. So.
Yeah, that's one of the barriers that we've encountered in these types of programs.
Yeah, having a whole city of LiDARs, trillions of points, and quite a large data set.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's impressive.
So I guess the main thing right now, we're talking the 10,000 tonight for the 3 tasks that we have at hand. Are there any questions pertaining to those 3 items? Any others that haven't been asked? Yeah. Then would entertain a motion?
I motion that we move forward to acquire the service from Forex Engineer as presented for the task 1, 2, and 3 on the proposal.
Second,
We'll get it to Cody. He's been quiet from that. He said it at the same time you were louder.
I'll give it to him.
Councilman Allen with the second, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you.
Well, I think Councilman Baird made a good point about the master plan and at some point getting that included, whether we can do it, if we get, trained or have that hired, I think that would be.
I'll get some cost breakdown to
I'd
that.
like to see the cost breakdown down on the LiDAR just for.
I like it. Yeah, I'll get a cost breakdown and move the master plan over, and then also we'll get the LiDAR breakdown for you to see if that's something you want to pursue in the future.
Perfect. So,
Thank you.
all right, let's go to the next item. Hayden Water Tank Engineer selection. Ryan, is that you?
Okay, so I got a joke. What do you call 5 different engineer firms in the same room? I have no idea. I couldn't finish it. So far, so good, I think.
Hey, it's better than lawyers.
I'm impressed. Actually, first, before I get going, I just want to say thank you to all of them. This may be the only time I get that chance to, we're all 5 of you in here, so thank you for what you do and for the city. So, Roosevelt City requested qualifications for the 2 million gallon tank up in Hayden. And we did that last month. The deadline was November 20th. And by doing that, we had 4 engineer firms submit their RFQs to us. They were JUB Engineers, Horrocks Engineers, Sunrise Engineering, and Jones and DeMille. And all 4 was definitely qualified for this job. So it made it kind of hard for us, but and part of the process, the evaluation, Roosevelt City had a selection committee, and that consists of 5 members. We had Mayor Bird there, City Manager Scott Finlayson, myself was involved, Public Works Director Kirby Wolfinger, and then City Recorder Kurt Mountain was there as well. And part of the point system on evaluating it, we had it broke down into 4 different categories to help us decide how we were going to score them and who was best qualified for the job. The first one was off the qualifications. The second was how familiar they was with Roosevelt City. Third, their past performance with Roosevelt City. And 4th was availability and in-house services. So it had a score sheet, and all the engineers seen that. It was in the RFQ as well. So with the results, should I just keep BSing or should I just say?
Hey, I like it.
I keep going.
Get her done.
Okay. It was tight, but the committee picked Jones and DeMille to do the service. So we come to you and suggest and recommend Jones and DeMille to be the engineering firm for the 2 million gallon Hayden tank. Is there any questions?
I'd just like to comment that I appreciate the process. It's a process that we've used out of Central Utah a lot. It's something fairly new to us here, at least in my experience. But I do appreciate the process. And one thing that I realized going through that is we have a lot of really good, just like Ryan said, a lot of really good engineering firms in the basin. We're in really good hands. It was neck and neck the whole time. And ultimately, it was within small amount of points, but we had to do what was fair in that regard and just award it to the one that was almost unanimous, just a hair above the rest. And it did come down to familiarity, not only with Roosevelt City, how many projects they've done with that type of project, how available they'd be, their workload. That's something we definitely look at Central Utah. When you're talking about hiring engineers, what are their jobs and projects that they're currently on, and what's their availability to Roosevelt City is a big thing as well. So all of those things were considered. And the thing of it is, in a different project, depending on some of those factors, it could just well be another engineering firm come out. So we really appreciate that, and I appreciate the process. Any questions for Ryan from the council? Seeing none, would entertain a motion.
Move to approve the award to Jones and Mill for the Haven Water Tank.
I'll say it.
Motion by Councilman White, second by Councilman Riley. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you all again. Thanks, Jones and Mill. Golf course report. Aaron, what's happening at the golf course?
Well, I don't have any jokes other than this snow's a joke, but it held off for us for a while, so we were grateful for that to still get some playing in December, which is a rarity here. Councilman Busenbark asked me to give a report on how much in charitable contributions were raised by various groups and organizations this past year at the golf course. And I can say that the city and community should take pride in knowing that over $110,000 was raised by these groups and organizations, and that money all stays right here in our community and is given back to the community, and it's very beneficial. So it's a great accomplishment, I feel like, in this time, or this down year that we've had and the times that we've had, that some good things happen.
What are some of the groups, if you don't mind mentioning?
Yeah, not at all. This year we actually were down 3 big tournaments because of COVID. In normal years, we're over $150,000 raised by these groups, but they were, I don't remember, but you have UB Tech, you have the hospital, UBMC, you have Strata, you have the high school that puts on 3 or 4 events. Altamont puts on a few events. Yeah, those are pretty much the main ones.
I appreciate it, thank you, and for my part, I appreciate, because I think people forget that not everyone golfs, I understand that, not everyone appreciates the golf course, but I think there's value in the golf course when they're able to do things like this and generate money in this way, and I'm sure there's other ways, but this is just one of those ways, and I think when people start recognizing that the golf course does provide value to the community and especially these opportunities to give back to the community and keep the money within the community, I think is important and valuable. And those are hard things sometimes to measure. And so I appreciate you coming up with the figure and hope going forward that we would continue to kind of keep track of that and the groups that come in and the money, and just be aware so that we could, maybe get a report. And I think that helps the patrons when people come up and say, why are we paying this or that for, golf course? We have an answer, I think, for them. And so for me, I appreciate it, and thank you for compiling that information.
Anytime. Thank you for your support.
Thanks, Aaron. Chief Tucker, interim Chief Tucker.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I compiled the crime statistics for November compared to October, I think. I just made a simple list, but on my list I put the October ones. So calls for service, we're at 1,018. Last month we were 1,031. Went down a little bit. Accidents was big though. We had 18 in October, but we only had 4 in November. Fix the tickets, we had 1. In October we had 2. Warnings, we had 159. October we had 121. And traffic tickets was a 35 and 33 in October. some of the other ones. Aggravated assault was 3 and 3. We actually had the same. Child abuse.
Hopefully not the same person.
Hopefully not. Same amount. Child abuse, we had 4 last month. We had 3 this month. Misdemeanor criminal mischief, 8 in October, 7 in November. Disorderly conduct, we had 12 in November and 11 in October. Domestic violence, 9 in November and 11 in October. Felony theft was the same for last month, 4 in November. Fraud was the same for intoxication. We had 9 in October and 13 in November. Go to paraphernalia, that was a big jump. We had 8 in October and 15 in November. Simple assault was a big jump too, 9 in October and 19 in November. Theft, 14 November, 13 in October. Trespassing was 7 in November, was 9 in October. Vehicle burglary, we only had 2 in October, but we had 7 in November. Warrants in our local jurisdiction, those are the local ones. We had 7 in October, we had 8 in November. Other jurisdictions was 1 in October and 2 in November. And then weapons offenses, we had 3 in October, we had 5 in November. Some have gone up, some have gone down. We're working hard.
Two things. One, I was just curious on the warning and tickets.
Yes.
Is that pretty common? Because, I mean, there's almost warnings, tickets. What I think both patrons appreciate that they're not getting tickets right off the bat, but is that a pretty comparable percentage?
Yeah, I think the same. What we've done is we've tried to do, we used to have a lot of officers that would pull you over and they would give you a warning, but they didn't really track it in FATHOC, which is our computer system. But now we're tracking it. So the officers are going in and they're seeing if they've been warned before, and then they're writing the ticket. But we do a lot of warnings.
Well, that's obvious, and I think that, honestly, I think that's great, because that's, you know, at least the first time we should warn, and, but I also agree and appreciate that they're keeping track, because if there's a, you know, continued problem, then obviously then something more needs to happen to hopefully correct the behavior, so I appreciate that.
The fix-it tickets, we don't do a lot of those, but they have a call. Because once the person gets the ticket fixed, then the officer has to go and confirm it and bring it back and they send it to court. Nobody took any of those, just do the warnings.
And the other question I had, in Wendell Lane, there was a house fire a little over a year ago.
Yes.
And I just happened to go by and it looks like the boards have been taken, or someone that boarded it up, I think, before, but they're gone. It looked like at least some of them.
It's, yeah, in fact, we had some kids in there just this month, we had to chase out of there. I was gonna get with Dean to see the accident. We had another one that burnt down by Stone Ridge, remember that? And the insurance company kept fighting. They didn't want to rebuild it from scratch. And or they wanted to rebuild it from the foundation, and people wanted to rebuild it from scratch. And we fought for years. So we got to do something with it.
Well, like I said, it's been over a year, and I know, I'm aware of the other one. Ryan and I talked about the other one that you mentioned by Stonegate, but I'm just concerned because, like I said, I appreciate it was boarded up, so nobody could get in, but the board has been torn down, and I assume probably people had gotten into it, and so I don't know what we do, but, you know, I just wish we could make an ordinance that, you know, with it. I mean, you give insurance companies time, but at some point you have to say, you know what, we're gonna tear it down, and we're gonna send you the bill, or something. I don't know what we can do, but, and I'm just talking out loud, but it's unfortunate because I'm worried about the safety in the area, and obviously for our you know, citizens, it reduces the value of their lives around there, and I think that's important, especially if people are trying to sell homes in those areas, you know. So I would like to find a way to have it happen sooner, but I know there's problems with things and it takes time, and I understand that, but it's been over a year.
I don't know if it was something we could discuss as far as an ordinance, but if something like that happens, they have to have it boarded up and keep it boarded up if something were to go down or something.
My question is with that, is the property owner, is it still that owner that owns the property? Did it go to foreclosure? I mean, where is it at? I guess that would be the.
Sure, yeah, I'm not aware.
Because whoever the property owner would, whether it's the bank or the owner, I guess we could still enforce that.
Kids are in it because it's still full of half burnt stuff and not half burnt stuff. You know, just, it's a definite magnet for them and a property value.
Well, I appreciate efforts on it, just encourage you to keep on it as best you can, and hopefully we'll get some resolution to it. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. All right, we have the most important item of the meeting tonight, the yearly meeting calendar approval. I haven't seen it yet. Where is it?
So for 2021, all of the committees and groups voted to keep their meetings on the same day. There is no change. So council will still be scheduled for a work meeting on the first Tuesday as needed. Council meeting will be on the third Tuesday. Planning and zoning and arts, parks and rec will continue to meet on the first Wednesday of the month. And economic development committee will still be meeting quarterly on the third Thursday.
The only thing I would probably add to that, and where Vince is here at the airport board,
Yes.
where we'll begin that in January. I'm thinking to stay away from the first and the third for sure. So I would anticipate the second or the fourth weeks, and probably on a Thursday night or something like that. I don't know how you feel then, Vince, but
Thursday night?
yeah.
Yeah, I'd say this, maybe like the last Thursday is probably more away from everything else.
Yeah. Could you check with the airport board when you send that email out to them and just kind of toss out those 2 days, the second and the fourth, and maybe lean towards the fourth and see if we can get consensus. And then we'll plug those in. I think initially we'll probably meet monthly, but we'll probably eventually go to quarterly once we get a few things squared away there.
And we can update this calendar at any time to add meetings to it. We added our parks and rec in the middle of last year. So this can be updated. We just need your approval every year to say this is the schedule we're going to follow.
It's good to see it all in front of us so that we can see which dates are usually, what are the green holidays?
The greener holidays, yep.
My
They're
favorite.
just work holidays. There are other holidays that fall on weekends, but those are the days that the city offices are closed.
Do we have
I got a question. So I know a while ago, Steve Timothy came in with complaint, well, I shouldn't say complaint, but he had a complaint. Yeah, he had a concern, about, he had several concerns at the time, but one of them was that we had stopped having a meeting the first Tuesday of the month. And, would it be beneficial to have our actual council meeting on the first Tuesday and then do our work meeting on the third, or do you think this is still better?
That's a good point. When does planning and zoning meet?
So the issue was the distance from planning and zoning and the length of time people were having to wait. So planning and zoning chose to move to the first Wednesday of the month. So if council also moves, we're right back in the same.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
We were trying to do it, if they made a motion in planning and zoning, we still have enough time to
Correct.
schedule a public hearing if need be before the council.
Okay, yeah, thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, they moved instead of you moving.
Okay.
That was nice of them. Any other questions? Any motions?
Make a motion to approve the calendar for 2021.
I'll second. And a second by Councilman Barrett. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. That passes. Mosquito abatement, I handed you that. Do you have that in these?
Oh, that's right here.
Yes, thank you. So the mosquito abatement each year, they have the different entities that contribute to their budget. Approve, they like an approval from each entity on the budget. And so this is the proposed budget for 2021.
I don't know how the actual budget goes.
There's nothing on
Yeah.
Well, we can make up a number. No,
If I have that, let me,
it might be on our packet. Right?
It is, I've seen the numbers.
okay.
there. That's all, I think the
They're on
right
that,
number to say
there's
that.
spreadsheet with the numbers in.
Right. Get it back to mine. I remember that it's around 387.
If you go back to the smart sheet,
Yeah.
Operational budget, 321,900.
the main agenda, if you
What's our-
scroll up,
what's
read
that?
the very top.
It's a taxing, where it's a taxing entity.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh, but. So we got it.
It's on page 28, if that helps you. Thank you.
Ah, there it is. I don't know how, that's not good one.
I'm showing 334,9727.
That's the revenue.
Okay, so 321,900
That's operations.
is the operational budget. Does anybody have any questions or concerns with that? You attend those meetings, Councilman Barrett?
I don't see any concerns. I think we went over this in the last meeting, and the tentative budget and the numbers match last year's pretty right on. There might have been one or two small adjustments, but I approved it in the council meeting of the tentative, but in the steel abatement board meeting with the rest of the board there, and we all felt good about it there, so I don't have any issue with it, so I think it's great.
Is that a motion?
Sure, I'll motion to approve.
Second. Second by Councilman White, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Passes unanimously. All right, what's the next item on the list here? Get back to my page, but we already did the internship. And so, do you want me to talk about this a little bit?
If you want to talk about it, I'm more happy to talk about it too. Whichever.
Go ahead, Scott. I'll give a preface, but this is something that came up. We were talking to the city attorney about the contracts and severances and those types of things. And we kind of discussed being consistent across the board with all of our appointed positions. So in doing that, we decided to at least come up with contracts for the treasurer and our finance recorder, finance director / recorder.
So the reasoning behind this is the difference between a normal employee and a appointed employee are two different things. So if it's an appointed employee, they don't have the same appeal rights or those types of things as a normal employee would, and so they don't have the same protections. So basically, they serve as appointed positions at the pleasure of the mayor and the council. So that being said is, depending on what mayor and what council are in, they can replace, they can do those types of things. So as a city manager, I felt it was appropriate to put in a few protections for them if the council chose to go a different direction and did not have cause for those employees, to at least offer them a way to be able to, a grace period, so to speak, to go get other employment. So we've extended a few courtesies to the city through severance to the Kurt and Randy serving as appointed positions. I've talked to Kurt in extent on this, and I've also spoke to Randy in length on this to see if this is the kind of direction they wanted to go. Kurt, you were fine with this direction, correct?
Yes.
Randy?
Yes.
So this is the direction, I would say, this would be my recommendation to the council to go this direction. They give some flexibility to the city, but it also gives some protections to those that are in appointed positions, to where if the council mayor do decide to go a different direction, they have that great period of finding new employment or do those types of things. And so Grant was able to, this contract was built off the contract that was offered to me, the same rules with cause, or with cause terminations and without cause terminations, same language, those types of things. And so Grant put these together to kind of reflect the contract that I was in with those appointed positions. So we're there across the board, kind of the same thing, and I'll let the mayor kind of.
Yeah, I think, and how partially this came into play is we were talking about the chief of police position, where it's an appointed position and talking about a contract, because previously the chief of police hasn't had a contract. And so as we began those discussions with doing a contract with the chief of police, where he's appointed, then we identified there's two other appointed positions that we probably want to do the same. And Grant's suggestion was that we should probably treat them all the same.
Yep.
And so that's how we got to this point. It wasn't just out of the blue. We were talking about the chief of police and the contract with him and everything else. And then it kind of progressed to this. And so we felt, as a group, I think we felt to bring this before the council, have them look at it. If you feel comfortable approving it tonight, that's fine. If you want to look at it and think about it, that's okay too. I don't think it's anything that's super pressing. It's just something that I feel like we want to do definitely with the chief of police. And again, our legal counsel suggested, and as well as our city manager, that we make it all consistent across the board for those positions. So
I have one question.
go ahead.
Question. So there was the discussion on vehicle usage, or
Correct.
I see on here, and I don't know if it's already in our city policy. I know we created a new city policy that allowed administrative staff certain positions to have vehicles. And are both of these positions on that list?
Yes, they would be. The treasurer has not been, but that's something that I was going to bring up. Actually, it's not on our agenda, but the only one that can't, because of legal issues, take advantage of that policy, the vehicle policy, would be the chief of police, because you
Let
can
me chat about this here for a second here. So we actually have a couple issues with that policy. That whole vehicle policy is going to change with the Lexipol once we're through those modules. And there's been some concerns that have been identified with that current policy. The first one was the chief of police. There's too much liability in stipending the chief of police. I've reached out to the trust. I've made some phone calls with them. It's not in the city's best interest to do a stipend to the chief of police due to liability issues.
an emergency vehicle that's privately owned with city-owned lights and everything else is not.
So what happens is, so if the chief was to insure his vehicle, I think it was insured at $300,000 or $500,000, right? So if he was to get in a wreck and kill somebody and that exceeded that limit, the trust would not insure anything after that. That liability would then come back to the city. So our trust insurance insures up to $5 million. And so it's not in the city's best interest to stipend the chief, because the liability on that is, if we go over that $500,000 on that personal liability that he's paying for, we could be hanging out to dry for $2, $3, $4 million, depending on how big that payout is. And so it would be my intention as a city manager to change that policy and pull that stipend back in and provide that vehicle through the city just for the insurance coverages that's provided by the trust. Some other issues with that policy, the way we've done our organizational chart, Brent, he's now a department head. Okay, we offer those to department heads as stipends. Brent was not considered a department head back then. It's my intention to include him also in that stipend program. Dean was also included in, he's elected to do the city vehicle in lieu of stipend. So that whole policy, I'm hoping to have all the Lexipol policy done in the February, into March. That whole policy is going to completely change to reflect the changes in the org chart with him and the treasurer, but also removing all the language with the police chief or the police chief out of Lexipol. So that would be my intention moving forward.
Okay, and then I have another question. I mean, just where we're talking about this vehicle policy, do all these department heads already have vehicles that they drive that are purchased by the city? Or is there pooling vehicles that are shared between different positions? I'm just curious, because as we address that,
So I think that's a very valid question. So right now, Brent has a city vehicle. So if he was to get that stipend, there's other needs within the city of the vehicles that need to be replaced. I mean, actually, me and Ryan, if you see, we were talking about where that vehicle would go next. That, instead of going out and purchasing another vehicle, that vehicle would go to a replacement that is coming up on the list that we have to replace. We have some vehicles that are 90,000, those types of things. So we'd supplement that, push that vehicle over to where it needs to be, and then just start the stipend. So we're not gonna go out and purchase any more vehicles or do that. And then, with Randy coming on, right now, the chief is stipend. We don't have a vehicle that we purchased for him or done anything. That stipend is just sitting right now. So we budgeted for that stipend, but we're not actually paying for that right now because we don't have that position. That's gonna be pulled back. I've talked to Kurt about financing, the finance side of this and doing this. There's some inherent benefits by going this direction, because then you're putting all maintenance, gas, fuel, all those things onto the employee and then the insurance and all the liabilities. That's the benefit by doing this. Then the city's not having to maintain a fleet, and we're not having to do fuel cards. We're not having to do a lot of those other things that we normally would have to do. So there's an inherent benefit to doing this.
As we address that policy also, I mean, if that's one of the benefits of the city, if we do have vehicles that can be used amongst city staff, I would say if they're opting into the stipend program, they ought to be using their vehicle for all city business instead of, other than like carpool things, if they're all jumping in the car, but.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's been my instruction to this. So if they're doing any type of city business, I'm not going out and getting the car that's sitting out front. I have a stipend vehicle. That's the vehicle I use for any type of city business. And that's the way it works. And anyone with a stipend vehicle, unless there's an emergency, shouldn't be coming in and grabbing another city vehicle. They should be using their stipend vehicle because that's what they're getting.
Yeah.
And that would be my enforcement going forward, is we're not using any other city vehicles.
We will have a city vehicle available for council.
Exactly.
For those employees that don't have a stipend vehicle, back and forth. I haven't used it yet, but maybe will one day.
Yeah. So
I don't get a stipend either.
So right now we have the GMC sitting out front for mayor and council, or whatever staff needs to use it. And I think, Randy's been using that to run all his errands, treasury, bank, doing those types of things. That's the vehicle. He's probably using more of his personal vehicle to do a lot of those errands. You know what I mean? Which, this would be coincide with, let's give him the stipend and let him use that. He's not using that. And then that's available to council, mayor, or any other staff members that need it, So yeah, that policy, Lexipol policy is gonna be completely look different in the next 60 days.
Back to the contracts really quick, just a quick note, because the termination or severance pay is probably the biggest thing. Each contract is 2 months, which is similar to what we've done with employees in the past. Our previous city engineer had 2 months. We offered 6 weeks to our airport manager at the time, and I think even the dog catcher, right? 6 weeks.
So then
it's common policy.
I had Derek go out and do some comparisons. They're really all over the place when it comes to severance. Urban's did it one way, they did it another. It's really up to the mayor and council and where they want to set that. I've spoken to Randy and Kurt about the severance, and the 2 months they were comfortable with. They felt that was fair time to go out and find a new employment, do those types of things. And so that's what the severance was extended, and this will be the 2 months.
Okay. Any other questions on the contracts?
My vehicle questions were related to the contract.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
And the other one I have is just wages. Is that the current wages that we have in there?
So yeah, that's the current wages that they're sitting at right now. So it's whatever the wages the mayor and council set with him, plus his cost of living and stuff that's in there, and then the wages, yes. So those are all the current wages of what they're currently earning now.
Okay, perfect. I like it. Excellent. Any other questions? Discussion? And when I say entertain a motion, that means either way. I'm not fishing for anything, so I'd entertain a motion.
A motion to approve them.
Second. I got a motion to approve by Councilman Baird and a second by Councilman Allen. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And that's for the 2 individuals.
Yeah, is that for both?
Are you approving both of that one?
Yeah, that's-
Yeah, the motion would be for both, because I assume we're discussing both of them.
Can I say something quick in there?
Yeah.
I just want to thank Scott for looking out for Randy.
I appreciate that. And our employees are one of our biggest assets, and in my tenure here, I'll make sure that our employees are taken care of and the protections are in place to make sure. I mean, they make us who we are. So that's my first priority of this day. So.
Yeah, thank you for what you do. Appreciate that.
Okay, so did you get that amended? Does that change the vote at all? Approve them both? Okay. Excellent. I was gonna say, I don't know that I saw a paper with purchase orders go around. Looks like it's been.
I haven't signed that one, I just did it. to the-
While they're talking about that, since vehicles did come up, and I'm all for the stipend vehicle thing. I just want to make sure that if we budgeted 10 vehicles, we're not stipending 8 people and we maintain 5 vehicles.
Yeah.
And the stipend was a replacement for
Yes,
the maintenance of the vehicle.
And then getting the fleet, so me and Kurt have got to sit down and do some fleet analysis. This is on my horizon. I've got to look at some matrices, because some of the my old matrices with fleet, the city's a lot smaller than a lot of the matrices I've used for other organizations. And I've got to look at the cost break between leasing the vehicles, because I pulled our fleet numbers and we're not getting super high miles on some of our vehicles. Some of our vehicles are 6 or 7 years old and we're not getting that 75,000 mile, sweet spot on some of these vehicles at 4 years. So I've got to go look and see where that cost matrix is. If I lease a vehicle and I do a 3-year 36 and all the maintenance is taken care of those, and we're just leasing them instead, I've got to see where that cost matrix is hitting to see where's that price point between purchasing the vehicles and leasing the vehicles. So I've really got to look into it, because we're not putting a ton of miles on the vehicles, which is a big component of going out and purchasing and buying those types of things. And so I've got to sit down and run some numbers and decide on what is going to be the best option for the city moving forward with that. And I don't know what the correct answer is with that. And it's going to take me some time to get through that data.
And
I thought that was a good way to go.
he had all those numbers though, right?
What's that?
When he presented it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's got.
Yeah, so that was with the stipend vehicle side. Yeah, the stipend vehicle side, there's a lot of benefits to that side of it too, that,
But I mean, it was, I think he's in here.
Ryan.
I'm sorry, Ryan, I forget your name. Ryan actually, before you came on board, presented to us what we were paying for contracting, what the stipends would pay. And so we all agreed that it was cheaper to offer the stipend. So our concern is just to make sure that the stipend program doesn't grow into what we originally envisioned as a city vehicle program.
Gotcha.
That's the only concern.
No. And I mean, there's certain functions you can't switch over to stipend vehicles. You have to have certain vehicles in the city for public works. I mean, if you're pulling, you can't take an F-150 and pull a great big massive trailer and do those types of things. There's certain vehicles the city's gonna have to have. Other vehicles such as public works and those types of vehicles, such in Dean's case or those types of things, they have to have specific lighting and warning lights. We don't want that going on to personal vehicles and going down that route. So really, department heads, and I would leave it at that. Department heads and or appointed positions would be the ones being eligible for stipends. Outside of that, I wouldn't even consider it.
So I don't think we have any vehicles for any other employees anyway.
So,
Well, we do have a couple, I guess, in the public works, don't we?
no, I think we have more than that. We have water department that has some.
Right.
So Sawyer has one. I think we have 3 or 4 in public works, and then we've got
Different type of, like the water truck, and different.
Yeah, so we've got a few out there outside of that. We've also got other vehicles too that, they're older, but we've got the courtesy.
Could we stipend a snowplow?
I could probably leash you one. So, but yeah, so with that policy over the next few things it's gonna morph, it's gonna change. Of course, that's gonna come for council and stuff like that when we get through the policies. I'll get to the city manager's update later, but I'll let you guys come on first.
Thank you. Well, do you want to just go ahead and do the city manager report while you're up there? You don't have to get up and down.
Yeah, we can go ahead and do that. Real quick, I gotta thank our staff. Last Friday, we shut down City Hall and they did an amazing job. We had a lot of our staff here to update the painting here. Dean was a champ. He replaced, so we got, with some COVID money, we got a bunch of drinking fountains. So Dean, when they had to replace all of our drinking fountains out here, got 2 of them. They're now motionless, touchless, and he was a champ getting those all in. But the rest of the staff spent the majority of the day Friday getting this whole place repainted. The front entry is completely changed. And I want to thank them for turning out and putting in a good hard day's work at getting this place up to date, cleaned up, and looking good. So I want to thank them first and foremost for doing that on Friday. That's really good. Thank you. Update on a couple other things we're doing right now. Police department, we started construction over there in the evidence room. They started putting in the evidence doors. We have steel doors going in over there right now. I think they're supposed to complete the steel doors today. And then we're HVA system is also being installed. They started that process. All the drug content and smells like that they were getting over there, that'll be in the HVA system. All that stuff will be sucked outside instead of going upstairs in the office space. So that is in the process of being done, completed. It's awesome.
There's the invented too, if we want to go.
I don't know if you want to be spending some of that stuff.
To the math lab.
The math lab, yeah.
So those are some cool projects we got done. Another project we just got recently doing also with COVID money. All the police department now has city cell phones. So we've made that purchase. They're now using city provided cell phones to call the victims, suspects, and do those types of things. That is now in place. To offset some of those future costs, me and Kurt and the staff sat down and says, hey, because we have future costs with the cost of those cell phones. So we looked inside and said, where can we cut some costs to help with this? We had like 38 landlines within the city. We barely even have that many employees. And so we went and looked at redundancies on landlines. Those landlines were about $3,000 a month.
They were about $30 to $40.
$35 to $40 we're paying for a phone. So we had some rooms that had 2 phones we weren't even using. And so we went back and Kurt did an awesome job, down to 11 lines.
13, it ended up being 13.
So we're down to 13 lines of the 38 lines. And our thought is we provide city cell phones. Why can't those landlines be forwarded to the city cell phones? And so we're probably cutting 2/3 of that budget. So 2/3 of the landline budget is going to be cut, and to offset the bringing on of the 14 or 13 cell phones that we're bringing over to the police department. So that's some of the costs majorly we traded there. Some other big stuff that's going on right now is lexical policy. We've gone through 3 chapters, there's 6 chapters, and 2 of those chapters are over to grant for legal review, and we're crushing through that.
Have you forwarded those to me? I don't know if
I shared the SharePoint link with you.
Okay.
You should have all those, and so you should have access to those policies.
And I'll let you know if I don't.
And if you don't have it, let me know. But yeah, I've given you SharePoint access. The mayor also has SharePoint access. Grant has SharePoint access. And then so how this electrical policy works is they have all these modules where we're merging everything together, and allows for user input. So the mayor has access to put it in, the legal has access to put it in, and then the staff. And what we do is we sit down. And the nice thing about having lexical there is we've added some content into it, and the nice thing is Lexipol's like, what's in this section over here? So we're not getting redundancies throughout the policy. The other nice thing is Alan's been a champ. He's been in their 8-hour policy meetings, and we're deconflicting it as we're going through with the police policy. So this is very cumbersome. It's taking a lot of time, but by the time we're done, your end product with this, there's not very many cities in the United States will have a policy like this. This will be some of the best policy that can be driven based on federal, state, and best practices. There won't be a better policy than what the city has. After that's done, it's up to the city to maintain and make sure that policy stays that way. But the nice thing too is we're paying that subscription to where they also help us with that updating with state and federal laws. And, matter of fact, I've sent some of the policies for the mayor to review that I felt that were outside my purview and I shouldn't be dictating policy regarding legislative bodies and certain things. And so those are gonna come back your way, or they'll be held and dealt with in an ordinance instead. So, but those are some of the things that we're crushing through right now. And does anyone have any other questions about anything else that's going on in the city?
No question, just comment. You hit the ground running, didn't you?
Too bad Ryan's not here, you can see his face. So it's been good. I think it's been.
I was just amazed at all the stuff going on, and, you know, I come down and I saw the cleaning and painting and stuff, and, you know, working on all these codes and stuff. There's obviously a lot that needs to be done to be cleaned up, so it makes it a more efficient city, and I appreciate that.
And I'll be honest with you, if it wasn't for the amazing staff that we have here and them taking on loads, I mean, I'll be honest, Lee, she's been champ. She's taken on a lot of responsibilities with Vicky leaving. She's doing a lot of accounts payable and stuff that she wasn't familiar with until we get HR hired on. I mean, the staff here has completely stepped up to the challenges that we have had here in the city. And I can't speak highly enough about the staff that the city has. You have some very good people here, and it'll be my intent to keep them, because I'll be honest, people are gonna come knock and try and steal them, because they're that good.
I'll
So,
make sure they know we appreciate them as well, so.
Thank you.
all right, thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Let's jump back to the purchase orders. Does anybody have any questions on those?
Yeah, Works wasn't on mine. And,
Well, that was, you approved it when you approved the,
right, so that's why it wasn't on it, because it hadn't been approved yet.
yeah, exactly.
And the estimates is just because we hadn't received the bill.
Yeah, and the estimates for K&K and Moonlake and PHP, we do our best, but we always are a little higher than what it actually
Right.
is.
Okay, that was all I got.
Any others? Okay, seeing that, would entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
We have a second. Second. I have a motion by Councilman White, second by Councilman Allen, all in favor?
All right, I just told I motioned too much, so I'm just shutting up.
No, I just said everybody tonight.
Who told you that? Jared said, you motioned too much, you're done. You heard him, didn't you?
Oh, no. Hey, we got him to second a motion for once. That's why this thing was a hit. It wasn't that you did.
I just like getting the meeting going.
I agree. All right, reports from standing committees. Councilman Allen, do you have anything for us tonight?
I wasn't able to make my committee meeting this past month, so
Okay, the only thing I have is, just an update on the Uinta Basin Railway. We had a meeting today. Everything's moving forward. I can't emphasize strongly enough that it is looking good. They've extended the comment period till into January. That's going to slow that project down a little bit. But what that means is we as elected officials and staff and community members need to write in comment. There's a way you can do that.
very good.
I think Lee has put it up on Facebook. Maybe we can do that again, Lee, and I'll get you the date for the extension so that people know that that is extended and they can continue to do that. But if we can get people to comment positively, any comment's helpful, but we just want the positive ones, okay, guys? So if you can comment negative, no, I'm just kidding.
This computer's gonna reboot in less than 5 minutes, and when it does, it'll shut down the YouTube stream, so I'm just letting you know.
Okay. You can't cancel it, huh?
I already have 3
So is that,
minutes.
are you saying, you must have a bet on about.
That's why I'm bringing up this message right here.
Okay, so, anyway, that's really all I have tonight, is just that. Well, and one comment on, so I've gotten with Derek, the HR director that's helping us right now. And we're tentatively scheduling phone interviews for Thursday and Friday. We've got a pool of 7 right now, so we've narrowed 41 applicants down to 7. And then after the phone interviews, we'll probably narrow it down to 3 or 4 and have those in-person interviews in the beginning of January. That way, by our city council meeting in January, we should be able to appoint and get rocking on that, so.
Can you share those with us or?
Yeah, in fact,
I'm just curious to see who made the
On an email.
you know what I
Maybe
can do?
an email.
Yeah, I can send in an email. I'll do that. But it was basically with the feedback count that there was 2 out-of-staters, the rest were in-state. And so basically the top 5 that you saw on the list in the in-state are on that interview list. So, that's all I have. Councilman Barrett.
No, nothing.
Nothing to report.
Okay, and Riley? All right. I lost my agenda. I switched screens. Oh, there it is. Are you good to report from the city manager? I think we're good.
We don't need closed session tonight?
Thank goodness, no. So, any, if there's no other discussion, would entertain a motion, Don? Oh.
Sorry, what's up? Did we ever hear about the,
Kennel?
yeah,
Yeah, I've been wondering
Yes,
that too.
that, really, they're close, but probably shouldn't comment on that tonight.
Yeah,
Um,
okay.
But
Hopefully
it's
by
really
next
close.
council, we might have some answers, but we're still waiting on them.
Another question. We had that, nominations for good doers.
January.
January, okay.
We've been on that, and January is when we plan on, just because everybody's been so busy, haven't been able to get them here, so that's a good thought, though.
All right, I move we adjourn.
Thanks, Don. Second by Councilman Bear. All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you all.